How did you deal with that? How did you like overcome the constant physical and emotional abuse?
You know what? It's all I knew. So when you're born to that, it's all you know. You know something's not right, because in my mind, as a young kid, I could tell, man, you know, the way I was processing things wasn't right. I mean, I suffered from severe toxic stress. And that was one of the big reasons why I started, you know, I had a learning disability. My focus in life was way off. I was afraid. I was afraid of everything. And when you have that kind of foundation growing up, and that's where you start life at, is being beat, being abused, and also working all night at a skating rink, not going to school, and you have a guy who's an alcoholic, and the second he got drunk, he got mad. And so our house lived in fear. And the one thing that you can't ever get out of a kid's mind is your mom's mind, like your mom's face.
The terror
of your mom's face.
Worst.
So you know, I didn't care about my brother, I didn't care about me, but I saw this woman go from Mary Poppins, the sweetest person on the planet Earth. And when you see your mom start to transform to a shell, to a person whose face becomes stoic, a person who has no emotion, and that changes a kid. And when you're young and you have to grow up so fast, so by 8 years old, my mind was of a 40-year-olds at 8. You know, my family, like, life came at me, and it makes your brain, you know, you're not outside playing with kids. You know, you're trying to avoid getting beat. You know, you're avoiding all these things.
But with your learning disability, with your dad beating you, screaming at you, emotionally challenging your mind, with the racism you dealt with the different struggles you felt, with bullies, what was the hardest obstacle to overcome from up until about 15, 16?
The hardest obstacle was myself. I started realizing more and more and more that all these people were gone. What was haunting me was me. I can't control my dad. I can't control the people calling me nigger. I can't control all these things, but they were things that kept me down. It started becoming my reality. My reality was what they made it out to be. And I became the most important conversation you'll ever have with your life, you know, in your life, is when you have yourself. And my conversation was absolutely horrifying.
What were you saying to yourself?
I'm dumb. I'm nobody. My dad was great in mental warfare. A drunk, insecure man will make everybody around him feel like hell. Because he wants to give you no power. And that's why he was so mean to my mom and myself and my brother, because he didn't want anybody to get above him. He wanted to keep you down low. So when you're growing up with all of this stuff, all this hate, and it wasn't the beatings. I could hit the beatings all day. It was the mental torture. So when, at a young age, your parents put a dialogue in you of confidence or you're nobody. So that voice in my head was, I'm a loser. And then it was confirmed when I got in school, and in 3rd grade, I was falling behind. They wanted to put me in a special school. You know, with kids who can't learn. Then it was confirmed what my dad was saying. So that confirmed it. Then I started cheating. So I started realizing, you know what? I'm taking the easy way out again. And it started snowballing from there. Now the kids are calling me nigger. But it wasn't all the kids. So what happens is you start to get this picture that everybody hates you, because your reality becomes so big that you can't see the clear picture.
It might have been 3 or 4
That's
kids
it.
doing it over and over.
Right, but it was the whole town. Everybody hated me. So
the world hates me.
That's right. And that's when it became toxic. And that is where I became my worst enemy. So when you have all this negativity growing up, and now you're cheating and you're doing this, and your dad beats you, and you know your mom's fiance gets murdered, and tragedy after tragedy after tragedy, and then you come to this, and your mom's working 3 jobs. You know, she's not home at all. She never saw one report card of mine. She didn't know how bad off I was in school. She was hustling, trying to make money, and I was the man of the house. lying, sneaking around, not going to school,
stealing.
cheating, right,
Yeah.
everything I could.
Yeah.
And so I walked out of school one day and saw this nigger with a kitty on my car. And I went in to get the principal. There's several incidents like this that happen. I went to get the principal, and the principal, he didn't have anything, he couldn't give me any advice. And I didn't want to tell my mom about it, because my mom was already bothered by my dad beating her down, and now her fiance got murdered. So I didn't want to
The
bother
last
her.
thing on her mind.
Yeah.
She's like, I've dealt with this my whole life.
Right. I didn't want to bother her with anything, man. So I kept everything away from her. So I'm in the car wash trying to scrub this stuff off, and I got home, and so happens 2 weeks later she gets a note from school. And the note says, your son is going to fail. He's not going to graduate. And she's like, what is this? And I had to come clean with my mom of all the years of me cheating, of all the bullying, of all this and all that. And she was such in a bad spot in her life that the best thing she could do was like, hey, you know, you're going to fail. You're going to fail school.
Wow.
And I was like, my God, man, like, you know, she was in a dark place, and I was in a dark place, and we were kind of on our own in the same house, but living different lives. And I realized at this time in my life, she was a great mom, but I was on my own. And that's when a real big change happened for me, so I said, I'm going to join the military.
What was the greatest lesson your mom taught you growing up?
Honestly, the greatest lesson she ever taught me is a lesson that she doesn't know how much she taught me, because she wasn't much in a teaching mode. My dad took her soul. But what I did as a young kid is I observed everybody. I wasn't really smart in the books, but I was real smart when it came to life.
Yeah.
And I was able to sit back and watch her mistakes. I was able to see how she struggled through life and how I don't want to struggle through life. And I was able to see, she never picked me up. The biggest thing she did for me, and this is the honest to God truth, and she doesn't even know she did it. When I would bust my ass, when I would fail, when I was at the bottom of the sewer, she never picked me up. She never gave me that cookie and said, hey son, you know, it's gonna be okay. She didn't have time for that. And sometimes she gets upset when I talk about my past because it paints her out to be not the best mom. If I had any kind of mom in that kind of environment, I would have never made it. Because she forced me, for every reason, she forced me to, you better figure this out, or you're gonna be a statistic.
Wow.
And this is something that she didn't sit down and tell me. I realized this. This is the world that is in front of me. And what most people do is they see this world and they look at it as an excuse to get out of it.
Yeah.
I started looking at it as this is the ultimate training ground for the rest of my life. I have all these valuable lessons, because if you look out in the world right now today, it's not a nice place, but I'm very prepared for it.
Yeah, you are.
I'm prepared for it. I'm prepared for all the failure coming my way. I'm prepared for everything my way. And that's the biggest lesson that she taught me by not teaching me. By never saying it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, she told me the exact opposite. Life sucks. That's what she knew. And it was the truth.
That was her reality.
That was her reality.
Yeah.
And so I saw that. And so I started at that point in my life. I have a lot more failures, as you see in that book. But I started down the road of, instead of the path of, you know, least resistance, I started choosing the path of most resistance to prepare myself for the journey that was coming my way.
Wow.